Hello, my name's Kevin Rourke, and today I'm going to be telling you about a character I recently made in a Pathfinder game. It's an original setting made by the GM, and as I talked about in a previous video, we weren't expecting to play this game. The GM had been working on this thing for a while, but wasn't quite ready to, do anything with it. But we had been playing a game, and there was a TPK, and the GM who'd ran that wasn't in the mood to run something else. He was felt a bit low about the whole thing. But the other player in his side from me said he'd run something, he'd run a Pathfinder game, he'd be working on this setting. So we just ran it on the fly. And we had a lot of fun. I came up with an unusual character for it, who I had a lot of fun with. I have the picture there obviously to start. That's a picture later on I started using once the character was almost finished. By Crescent Moon, I might be getting that name wrong, but I could put a link to her work in the description down below. She gave me permission to put it up. So originally I was a bit torn, like, what am I gonna do? And we just finished a game where he died, so I desperately wanted, the other player always said I'm gonna be a fighter, and I'm like, I kinda wanna play a sorcerer, and I've got a few other ideas, but I want somebody who can heal, because we just had a TPK, and I don't think that's gonna help anybody's mood if we have another TPK. But I wasn't really tremendously in the mood for a cleric, whereas a paladin, I was like, okay, what am I gonna do? But then I started getting this idea. I could do one of the paladin archetypes, on the oaths. And I said, oh, charity, that could actually be kind of cool, where you do additional healing to others with your lay on hands, we do less healing to yourself. It's like, okay, that could be kind of fun. And I was like, I was looking class, like, human paladin. I was like, I've played a few humans lately. I was like, yeah, I'm not too sure. No, I don't want to do human paladin. I went through and I just kind of look at some of the other ones. I played an elf paladin twice before. One was a blood elf from Warcraft RPG, and it wasn't another homebrew setting. An elf paladin fighter. And then I kind of came across halfling, and I'm like, I cannot remember the last time I played a halfling. I'm pretty sure I've played it probably at least once, but I don't think I've played it in any D&D games. I said, yeah, I'll do a halfling. It could be fun. I started coming with these ideas, and I was going like, oh, I could do some Alice. I could try some other stuff. I was like, oh, maybe I'll use a halberd, because I remember looking at halberds. I was going, it does it better than I remember. And I went off and started making up the character, but then I was like, wow, Scale Man's going to be really heavy. Scale Man's going to be a nightmare. Like, it hadn't much of a character concept worked on, because we were just being, do a game. So it's like, okay, I'll just look at the stats and stuff and do something which will hopefully be effective. But I wanted to do something unusual. And then I was like, oh, Scale Man's really heavy. And I was like, actually, screw it, I'll take a studded leather armor. I'll take something light. It won't encumber me, because my guy, unfortunately, with my two strength, his strength was as down as as far as 9. I could have easily gone off and made him, started him up differently, because I could have 15 into his wisdom, which I could have put into his strength and still have an okay wisdom. But I was like, I still believe, like, yeah, well, unfortunately, I had to put a 9 in somewhere, so I ended up putting it to my 8. I wanted him to be, although he was not as smart as the average person quite, I wanted him to be a bit more wise. In certain ways, a bit of an odd way, but I ended up ditching the halberd, and I ended up having a halfling paladin running around in studded leather armor with a quarterstaff, saying to the GM, I'm probably going to go off and take a level or 2 monk. I'm going to play a pretty odd paladin. But he just wanted to help people. He was a Jim's come up with a different name for him, but he was effectively a paladin of Pelor. The god's quite similar to Pelor. He said, I'll give you more details on him later, but by and large he's going to be Pelor, or at least very Pelor influence, so sun god. So he got the same domains and stuff. So it's like, okay, that gives me some basis to work on here. He hadn't all the details of the cosmology or he big broad scope things with the individual gods. He was like, oh, I'm not sure what to do. But it was kind of interesting, because I went off and because I didn't go off by the scale man, because I didn't buy out a halberd, I bought a few odd bits of gear. I went off and I bought some chalk, and I bought an ink vial, even though I had no writing equipment. I went off and I bought a medium creature size set of peasant clothing. I went off and bought some common quality manacles. I did lots of unusual stuff. But as the game went on, we were starting the capital city. I started putting on a voice for the character, as I sometimes do, but it was very high pitched, and I described him like, we pretty much described him as a character as like he's sickeningly peppy and optimistic about stuff. It's like, hello friend! Just weird, a bit odd, not what you're expecting for a paladin, because But and not by the way he's dressed. He looks like an odd, you know, he looks like an odd rogue. He doesn't look like a paladin at all, what you'd expect, especially being a halfling. And the great part is nobody was taking him seriously. And like people go like, he's a halfling instead of leather armor. I'm not, you know, when he's standing beside the fighter who's got a tower shield and like scale mail and a trident, who are you going to pay attention to? You're going to be a bit more worried about keeping an eye on, unless it's like your coin person, you know, he's probably a rogue, they'll probably steal myself. A lot of people were quite dismayed. They were a lot more worried about the other character, the other player. But they, you know, they're both threats in their own way. Not that devastating with the damage, but he had a lot of interesting abilities. And we start off in the basically unified capital city of the continent, which none of the nations own, and are dominant species in every nation. Each has their own government. We're still trying to explore this stuff. But we saw a woman who was having an argument with someone. He stormed off. I found out it was her bodyguard, and she was due to be heading back home, but the roads after a while further away from the city aren't terribly safe. My character had gone over to talk to her. So he said, well, you know, I'll gladly, I'll help you get back home. But I don't actually particularly, like, he recognised what he looks like. I don't particularly look like a, the bodyguard type. So although I'm willing to help you, maybe my friend over here, who I just met in the bar, is like, I'm pointing out to other players, like, you know, maybe my friend over here, he might, you know, help with the image of that kind of thing. And she's like, well, how much are you going to pay? And it's like, oh, we can sort that out once you're home, don't worry about it. He's like, he's a paladin of charity, he wants to help people. And she was known, we didn't realise, she was actually a marquess. We found out later on, so she's fairly important. But we were helping her get home. We came across a young woman had tried to rob the Marquess's room at night when we were staying in it. And we ended up finding out that she was in trouble. She had fled the city she had grown up in. She'd been homeless there. She'd fallen with a bad sort. But my character, like the two of our characters, like even like the player with the fighter was like, yeah, I can't remember his name right now because it's been like about a week or so. And we kind of ran on the fly, so I'm trying to remember his name now. I'll remember it later on. I'm sure as soon as I turn off the video, the video recording, I'll remember it. But we're on the same page. Yeah, she really doesn't deserve this. So we were convinced to, you know, Miranda Marquez not to. And we started talking to her. Like, well, you know, we'll give you a chance. We had actually already realized, yeah, once we get out into the wilderness, we're not going to be able to take watches properly. There's only two of us, and the Marquess surely isn't going to be able to help. So an actual extra person was actually going to be handy. As well, we could see her robes were all tatting, her clothes were all tatting things, this little thief, and she was like 14 or 15 or something. But my character took out of his bag this set of medium-sized creature clothes. They were in peasant clothing. They weren't terribly expensive, but they were clean and they were new and didn't have holes. And like all of the players in the GM were like, the other friend in the GM were like, what? He was like, yeah, no, I have these. I picked a few odd things. But we recruited her, went back to Capital City, and the oddest thing happened. We ended up trying to, you know, we got the Marquess home, and we started finding out. We left this thief in the care of the Marquess. The thief was called Marie. I left her in the care of the Marquess. Said, well, we're going to find out about stuff, but they might try and take vengeance on her. Her brother being killed. So we said, right, we're going to go investigate this. We're going to sort this out. And we started making waves in the underworld. We were questioning people and different things. I'm really glad that by the end of it, the body count was low, because my character doesn't like hurting people. He will, but he doesn't like hurting people. He's not a pacifist. But he's not just go take out his quartz and go smite evil smack. It's like no, he prefers to give people multiple chances just to not. But he will stand by his principles. He doesn't like everything he has to do, but he sees it as his job. He is a paladin of Pelor. He sees it as this is something he has to do, and it was pretty cool. Going off, we started dealing with the underworld, but the other character started basically going, oh yeah, you know, you can let your boss know, or there's new people in Santana. My halfling's kind of looking like, what are you on about? But I didn't, you know, he was kind of keeping on. It was just kind of going, what are you doing? He's like, yeah. So we started making him think that we were competition in town. So the higher ups would start coming to us, and if we started dealing with these guys, more important guys would come, and we might be able to basically rattle a few cages, find out what's going on. But we found out that these guys were recruiting a lot of the younger homeless people in the city, and they were grooming them effectively to be thieves, and they were grooming them to be, well, criminals, to be mules, to be abused in various different ways. I mean, like, you know, being used as criminals, that kind of criminal enterprise and things, and just be cheap, expendable. You know, as their view went, there'd always be more. But it was interesting. One of the bits we found out, the head of like they kind of have an international police service kind of thing, called the Legion, which is based in, I think they're based in the city, which everyone, you know, recognizes kind of neutral territory, but everyone has representatives there. But the Legion stop things like slavery. There's certain things that aren't supposed to happen, like slavery and different things, but they need evidence. But because my character is a paladin, if I go through this big ritual, because the paladin shouldn't lie, if I go through this very strict ritual, and I said to the other players, like, yeah, if I do go through this ritual, I will tell them everything. Anything even slightly shady you do, that'll be included. He will not hold back. You know, he won't edit the truth in any different ways, because if they're actually having to specifically say, once you tell you the truth, the whole truth and everything, he's like, yeah, he will do it. He'll either do that, or he'll keep his mouth shut and not say anything. He won't edit things if he's being asked that directly. Sometimes, like when your man was saying, oh yeah, we're competition in town, he was smart enough to keep his mouth shut. He was like, I see where you're going with this. But we started to make inroads. One of the fun bits was, we've been contacted by the Legion. We were dragged in. We were supposed to be taken outside the city, but we escaped. We were basically told, like, yeah, we don't have the information. We can't directly interfere with the operations here unless we have proof. It's all in the territory of the local police, who the majority of them have been bought off. It's too awkward for anybody else to do it. So it's like, okay. But if I could see stuff specifically myself, I could find evidence, we could do it. It's like, so she was able to tell us, yeah, we know where we think some of the shops he's extorting from. So we go in, we arrive in, we start sitting around in the groceries, and we see these guys show up, and they go, like, you know, one of them goes, they go to the shopkeeper, like, you know, in the back room, and I said, Jim, I'm going to try and sneak in. Now, I don't actually have any ranks in stealth, but he's got a dex of 17, and he's a small creature, and I rolled like a 19, so snuck into the back. And I actually said to James, actually, I'm going to wait for the second guy to come back, because he might bolt the door. Because I don't want to have to, if I do fight these guys, I don't have to fight them by myself. Just going paladin doesn't mean I'm stupid. Because if I have to fight these guys, I want the hard-ass fighter with me. So, you know, wait, and sure enough, the guy turns around, bolts the door, because they don't want to be interrupted. And when he starts going back into the back room, they start their conversation. I snuck up, opened the bolt on the door, stuck my head out, and kind of, you know, signaled the fighter. And he moved up to the door. He's got tower shield and scale mail, so he's noisy as hell. But he, you know, he waits outside the door, waits my signal, and they're kind of trying to shake down the shopkeeper, like, oh, you're 2 months late with your dues. And then I described my halfling with the quarterstaff over his shoulders, just at the hands, kind of like this, just like, and all of a sudden, just standing in the shadows, they hear this voice, "Hello, friends!" And they just turn around, they're like, what the hell is going on? And they're like, you know, get out of here, or else if you don't get out of here, you're gonna regret it. And then my little halfling paladin, who nobody's going to take serious, because he's tiny and he's, you know, he doesn't look that threatening. He's like, that's funny, I was about to say the same thing to you. And that's when the fighter comes in, because he'd heard me speaking quite loudly to hello friends bit. And then they're like, what? And I was like, so I went off, rolled intimidating, got a nat 20. It was like, you know, it was like that they should leave, and not only should they leave, but they should get out of their line of work. Because my grad was like, yeah, the lower down guys, although they might be committing crimes, they're not necessarily responsible for it. I'm going to give them a chance to stop now. And the shopkeeper's like, they're gonna come back. It's like, it's okay. If they come back, we'll deal with them. Because we would stop in on a regular basis. Any places we did something like this, we were stopping back on a regular basis. Make sure everything's okay. And we start moving things up. And we eventually find out that we find out where two of these guys hang out, two of the kind of the enforcer guys who make people disappear. Or involved with the disappearance of the brother. We're still trying to find out what the brother is. We're trying to deal with this organization. We were pretty sure the brother was dead, but we're kind of hoping that he wouldn't be. But we found these two. They were a couple, and they were on a certain section of ramparts. And it was pretty interesting. We had a big long discussion with them, like, you know, lots of veiled innuendos and different things. But we were able to find out that they were, or claimed to be at least, that they were involved with the forbidden cult of like some of the evil gods. So we're like, right, this thing might actually be a hell of a lot more serious than we thought. And the other player previously asked if somebody, you know, how do the laws work here for the fight stuff? If somebody attacks us, do we still get in trouble? It's like, no, we don't. But he waited till we had talked to him for a while. We knew these guys aren't, and we found out that they had in fact been there when the brother was killed. They had brought the brother there, and the brother had been killed. And it was like, we didn't kill him. It's like, yeah, but you brought him, and this seems like a regular thing the way you're talking about. You're complicit in the whole thing, even if you're saying you don't do it yourself. You're pretty damn complicit thing. And the other character, the fighter, goes, well, it's time for these things to come to an end. And then he goes, now, as if you know, we're about to spring like a load of guys, and one of them reactively starts taking out their blade, and he goes, oh, look out, Hob. My guy's called Hob Tea Leaf, and he just goes forward, and we end up kind of doing. It was pretty cool because my character, I ended up doing like Smite Evil on it, because like, yeah, these guys are pretty nasty customers. So we managed to take them down. They both died. The other character was the one who killed them, but although his character was a mercenary, they had always taken defensive garrison jobs, that kind of thing. They were always being attacked. This is the first time he went out and he killed somebody else. So the big bad fighter, you know, reacted to this. He felt really guilty afterwards. Like, he didn't necessarily, he wouldn't necessarily have done a different thing, but he came to the realization that he was capable of this. So yeah, we started really annoying the hell out of these guys, and the GM said, okay, well, I get the general vibe of what you guys are doing, so we'll go forward a little while. And we were moving around, we were sleeping in different places every night. We were not sticking into one place or make it difficult for us to be found. But we ended up getting I ended up actually turning around to the other player and said, you know what we're actually after doing? We're actually effectively after ripping off the plot to the Green Hornet movie. And he goes, oh my god, we have. And that's when, and Jim was like, oh, okay, I've never seen it. And he had never seen it. But then we got a letter had been sent to us through various ways and means, that the other guy wanted to meet up and to divide up the spoils in the city. He wanted to negotiate because we were just costing too much money what we were doing. And we started laughing our heads off, and we're like, you know, that's exactly what they do in the movie. And it's like, really? It's like, damn. But it was pretty cool because we went forward, but we'd been being followed at times by some of their guys, and we were also being followed by some of the Legion guys. We didn't know if they were all in on it. These FBI type guys, or these Interpol would be more appropriate. We said, okay. I said, you know what? We didn't actually set up a specific way to talk to the captain or whatever. The legate, I think she might be called. We don't have a specific way set up to communicate with her. So you know what we're going to try and do? For the first time, we're actually going to try and lose the Legion guys. I don't think there's like my character by himself. Yeah, I might have a stab at it. But the guy with a tower shield, if you've seen the armor check penalty, I think it's not going to happen. But we actually thought we did lose them. He rolled, okay enough. But they were really good at stealth, so we honestly thought we'd lost them. I was like, well, it's too late to back out now. Before we went in, I said, Jim, I'm going to take something. I'm not going to tell you what it is, unless you really want me to. But I'm going to take something in my bag, and I'm going to put it at the top of my bag so it'll be easy to reach. And we went in, and there was two of the like top lieutenants, and they also had a bodyguard type guy there as well, who's standing off to the side. And the other player went off and he stole something from Terry Pratchett. There's only one type of crime: the theft of life, of innocence, of property. He went off and said, "I'm gonna steal it. I'm gonna admit I'm stealing this, but it's a cool line, and I want to use an RPG." He's like, "Okay, fine." That can be a hell of a lot of fun in RPGs, as we all know. Just stealing these great lines from movies and things. But I went off, and my character, like I said, he doesn't want to kill people. He doesn't even necessarily want to hurt people, but he'll do it. But these are people that he will like, yeah, you guys have done horrible stuff. I know enough about that. But just because he thinks they might deserve these things doesn't mean he will want to do it himself. If he can help it, he would rather they go through the appropriate authorities. Unfortunately, he knew that the appropriate authorities here had been corrupted, and higher up guys, until we got evidence, they couldn't move on it. So he said his speech, and I said, okay, my guy, and the other player's like, okay, you can say something, but my character's just gonna jump him as soon as you're finished, because I got the same amount of spiel. So I was like, okay, fine. And my character, I had been watching a video by Don Forgecast talking about paladins. So there's one little bit of it, and I said, I'm gonna expand upon it, and I'm gonna say, that little thing. So my character goes, when I was younger, I went to a temple. They don't know my character's a paladin. Like, these guys they don't know who the hell he is. Like, why would a paladin be doing this kind of stuff? If you work in a criminal organization, that wouldn't happen. It was like, when I was younger, I went to a temple, and I asked the clerics because I didn't understand what was going on, like what they did all day, and they told me that they fall down and they get back up again. So I'm asking you. I'm telling you, it's not too late. That you can get back up again. And they're like, wait, you're like, no, we're here to negotiate, whatever. And my character took out the top of the bag the common quality manacles. I threw them on the table. I was like, it's not too late. And they're like, you guys are what army? That's when the fighter just jumped on it, threw the table aside, went bam, 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 started wailing on him. And we heard banging at the door. The Legion guys had finally caught up and they came in. And I said to him, I got phenomenally good role in this session. So my character, like the other players, like when we started talking about like the Green Hornet, like, God damn it, you're a Kato, I'm the stupid Green Hornet. I just look really good, whereas you're the actual guy with skills. His guy was pretty badass too. But the bodyguard type guy was at the edge of the room, and I said, is he trying to run? He's like, yeah, he's trying to run. I said, well, I've got a quarterstaff. So I'm going to try and throw it like a spear. I'm going to try and get it between his legs. I said, I know I have very little chance of succeeding, but I'm hoping that I'll get it between his legs and that'll trip him up so he can be arrested. So Jim's like, okay, give it a shot. And I'm kind of like, I'm probably not conceding this. Roll the dice, nat 20, bam, down like a ton of bricks he goes. And I was so happy. But then again, I looked over at the fighter character was just wailing on this guy, like, and he's got like the Legion guys trying to like pull him off, but he's ridiculously strong. So he got my guy trying to like calm him down and pull him off as well. But I thought it was a very different and very cool adventure with not characters we would usually play, like a halfling paladin who didn't have that great of a strength. And like I said, I'm hoping if we do more sessions that I will get to like we got up to level 2 at the end of that, because that was a long session. We had a lot of time. We were all free time in the evening, and I said, I'd drive one of the guys home who would have had to otherwise leave because his lift was going. But I said, I'll drive you back. I'm having fun with this. We managed to get to level 2. I don't know when I'll be running it again, but I took my second level plan. Finally, I can do lay on hands. I can heal people, so I can do that thing. But I want to take a level or 2 in monk. I want to take a level in monk because I don't want to be fighting with armor. But I recognize the mechanics of that isn't very smart. But the way he behaves, I think, will work. He's not going, like, if he does something, he takes back on, like, when we end up killing those 2 people, who are the only 2 people we killed. We might have scared a few other people. They were the only 2 people we killed. My character taught back on it. He didn't kill them himself, but they were pretty bad. He would have preferred to take them into custody, but the time wasn't really appropriate, and various other things. so he's dealing with it better than the fighter was. I'm hoping that the GM will find more time and will be able to do sessions at time. I'd like to talk about here because it's just an interesting dynamic with the two characters, and an unusual, for generally games, for the games I'm in, an unusual approach. I remember a player he took the Oath of Peace or something like that with or the Vow of Peace with a monk character, but that character wasn't able, because of the way the mechanics work, he just wasn't able to help that much in certain respects. He was horribly difficult character. But I want the character to be good at things outside of combat mainly, because the other guy can handle stuff in combat a lot. I don't want him to be able to contribute in combat, but he's not going to be the heavy hitter. I'm probably going to invest in a feat so that from Ultimate Combat, so that with his quarterstaff he'll be able to do non-lethal damage. So it's being able to punch people and stuff like that. But I like the idea of the quarterstaff because I kept describing him being, you know, jumping around the place kind of type thing, like little jumps, like he's climbing onto chairs and stuff, because everything's human size. He's running around a goddamn nation of humans now at this stage. So it's a bit odd, but I had a lot of fun with the character. I really liked the way the GM did it. I went with a character I wouldn't normally play. And he realized, what I like is he realizes that other people don't take him seriously. But he just goes with it. He just goes, well, that's their problem. I'm going to try and do the best I can. And he thinks back on these things. I'm having fun with it. But I'll leave it there. Hopefully this will not be the last Paladin's Tale. I'll see you again. Goodbye.